Welcome to the orientation video for Math 1414. My name is Matt Roy. I'm one of the full-time math faculty, and you're probably wondering what Math 1414 orientation is. Well, the purpose of Math 1414 orientation is to make sure that each student is enrolled in the correct math course based on their major and their readiness. You see, every semester about 30% of the students who sign up for Math 1414 are actually enrolled in the wrong course for lots of different reasons, which I'm going to talk about in this video. So when you actually go to your Zoom meeting for your orientation that you signed up for in ACES, you will speak to a full-time math instructor. And that math instructor will have all of your test scores and academic history in front of them, so they can give you advice as far as what is the best math course to take. When you go to your orientation session, be sure to bring the diagnostic test with you that's posted on Canvas. You want to work out those problems and have those on the day of the orientation. When you speak to the full-time math instructor, that's going to be one of the parts of the conversation they have with you to decide if you're actually enrolled in the correct course. Here's what's at stake: your time and your money. We don't want you to have to unnecessarily drop this course or retake it if you can avoid that. So as you listen to this presentation, please take it seriously, because we want to make sure that you're enrolled in the correct course before the semester actually starts. If you need to make any changes to your schedule, it's going to be much easier to do that before the semester has actually started rather than waiting till after. So what if you take 1414 but you're not actually ready for it? Well, here are some of the consequences. If you drop the class before the census date, that means you get no letter grade for the course, but it would actually put you a semester behind in your math path. If you drop Math 1414 after the census date, then you'll have to receive a letter grade of W, which is standing for withdrawal. And that will also put you a semester behind in your degree plan. If you earn a D or an F in Math 1414, that's really going to wipe out your GPA, because if you think about it, this is a 4-credit-hour course. And depending on your major or the university you would intend to transfer to, this can make it really difficult for you. So we want to avoid the D or the F. That's the worst case scenario. So here are some other negative consequences if you take Math 1414 but you're not ready for it. There's something called the 6-drop rule, and this is actually the statement of the 6-drop rule that's in your syllabus, but I'm going to give you my translation for it. You are limited to 6 W's during your entire undergraduate academic career. So we see a lot of students who end up accumulating a lot of W's by their first or second year in college, and once you hit those 6 W's, you can't receive any more W's again. So we want to avoid that. There's something called the 3-peat rule. This is, again, the official policy that's listed in your syllabus. But basically, if you end up having to take Math 1414 3 times, you're going to pay a lot of extra money out of pocket for that 3rd attempt. Okay, as much as $500 or more added to your tuition. And another rule is called the 150-hour rule. This one's a little bit confusing, but basically, once you have reached 150 credit hours in any courses that you've taken during your undergraduate career, either at Northwest Vista, or let's say if you transfer to UTSA or someplace like that, after those 150 hours, you have to start paying out-of-state tuition, which is extremely expensive, sometimes double or triple the tuition rate of an in-state student. So even if you drop this course or you get a W, that still counts as 4 credit hours towards this 150-hour rule. Okay, so if you end up taking Math 1414 more than once or drop it unnecessarily, you're accumulating a lot of extra hours towards this 150-hour rule. So we want to avoid that. Okay, who should be taking Math 1414? Only STEM majors who plan to take pre-calculus should take Math 1414. Now, by the way, STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math. So these are some examples of typical STEM majors who would take Math 1414. Biology majors, math, general science, engineering, computer science, nanotechnology. All of these majors would require pre-calculus and calculus 1. So the short answer is, if you don't need to take pre-calculus or calculus 1, there's really no reason for you to take Math 1414. But the good news is the day that we actually meet during your Zoom orientation, the math faculty advisors can actually look up the requirements to each of our transferring universities to make sure that you take the correct math requirement based on your degree plan. Here are some examples of majors who should not be taking Math 1414. Business majors take a different course called Math 1324. It's math for business. Cybersecurity, nursing, criminal justice. Some of these majors take either 1314, which is a much easier college algebra course, or something like 1342, that's statistics. 1332 is liberal arts math. Early elementary education majors would take Math 1314, which again is an easier course. Kinesiology majors and game development majors could also take that Math 1314. I want to talk a little bit more about the math paths that we offer at Northwest Vista. So first of all, you'll notice that you are all currently on the purple STEM path right here at Math 1414. That's the course that you're about to take. But you'll notice that there's a course that comes before it that's called Math 0320 Intermediate Algebra. Now, if this is your first semester in college especially, and you're planning to take 1414, we really recommend that students take Math 0320 first. You see, Math 0320 is a course that we developed that's meant to prepare students so that they will have all the algebra skills that they need before they actually start Math 1414. So if you have any hesitation about whether or not you're ready to take Math 1414, we really recommend taking Math 0320 instead. Now, Math 0320 does not count for college credit, but it doesn't hurt you if you take it. In fact, if anything, if you take Math 0320 and you ace it, you'll know that you're that much more prepared to take 1414. On the other hand, if you sign up for Math 1414, but you're really not ready for it, you might have to go backwards and take 320 later down the road before you're actually prepared to take the Math 1414 course. Now, in this presentation, I'm going to show you some interviews that I did with other students who are sitting right where you are, who had to decide whether to take 1414 right away or start in 0320. And I think you're going to be surprised by how much they appreciated taking Math 0320 first. Now, I want to point out that Math 1414 is not like your high school algebra class for a lot of different reasons that I want to go through now. So how is this class going to be different from your high school algebra class, or let's say even if you took 0320, how is this class going to be different? Well, first of all, you're going to cover more topics in a shorter amount of time. If you think about it, in a high school math class, you get one full academic year to learn it. At the college level, you'll get at most 16 weeks to really learn all of the stuff and more that you did in high school. There are no practice tests, extra credit, or corrections. So you'll have to earn your grade. All of the tests that you take will count towards your final grade. There's more emphasis on why you do something and not just how. So it's going to be important when you study for this class to think about why you're performing each step and not just what is the procedure that you have to follow. So it's not going to be just a bunch of memorization or repeating something that you learned in the classroom every single time. It takes more time to learn outside of class. So if you think about it, this is a 4 credit hour class. The rule of thumb in college is that for every credit hour, you multiply that by 2 or 3 and add that to the study time that you're going to be doing outside of the class. So you could be spending anywhere from 8 to 12 or even more hours a week outside of class doing your homework, reviewing, and preparing for Math 1414. And also something that's important, making connections that are not directly shown in class. Sometimes when you get to a test question in Math 1414, you might have to put together 2 or 3 different concepts that your instructor didn't show you directly. They'll give you the tools to answer the question, but you still have to make some connections that weren't directly shown to you. Now, what I'd like to do next is show you some interviews that I had with students who took Math 0320 and then took Math 1414, and they're going to talk to you about what their experience was like. So here were the 2 questions that I asked them. Number 1, how did Math 0320 prepare them for Math 1414? And then number 2, what advice would they give someone like you who's trying to decide whether to take Math 0320 or Math 1414? So let's listen to their responses. How do you think that 0320 prepared you to take Math 1414?
I think 0320 helped prepare me because there's a lot of things that I didn't learn in high school that I needed to know by 1414, as well as some of the things that I maybe forgot or struggled on a little bit in high school, but still passed the class. Just by passing the class in high school didn't mean that I actually learned the stuff that I needed to for 1414. And the first time that I took 1414, that really showed because I failed it pretty hard. And then when I went back and took 0320, it was a lot easier the second time having that knowledge.
The biggest thing I can tell you, having been in this now for a while and having switched majors once, and seen a lot of people who are in STEM that all of their their major is very reliant on math, is that the math skills are the biggest thing that are holding people back. I'm a student at UTSA. I'm taking computer science courses. There are students at UTSA who are being held back from graduating because they still can't pass the requisite math courses for their computer science degree. And there are students who, in other things like chemistry that are still struggling to pass those courses well, because their math skills just aren't up to snuff, unfortunately. So you have a lot of people that are really struggling to maintain good GPAs, get into the right classes, graduate on time, just because their math skills aren't strong. So if you're sitting there thinking, okay, I'm not really sure about how I sit, where my math skills are at, if I'm ready for 1414, if you're, remotely wondering at all, am I prepared to handle college algebra and move forward, just realize that the skills that you take forward from these classes are going to stay with you forever. So if you're starting on a shaky foundation, if you go into 1414 and you sort of barely pass, that's just going to accumulate over time. And you're going to get to a point where, you've gotten a C or maybe a low B in 1414. What's your grade going to be like in Cal 1? What's your grade going to be like in Cal 2? If you had to go that far? And a lot of people do. And it's just going to be this cumulative effect. And the easiest way to avoid that is to just be honest with yourself, really seriously consider like, okay, am I strong enough in math to be a STEM major with the skills I have? And really heavily considered 0 through 20. I don't know anyone who's picked it that has regretted picking it. That's really the biggest thing too. I know a lot of people who've gone through 0 through 20. I don't know anybody who took 0 through 20 that's regretted it. I know a lot of people who started in 1414, failed, went back and took 0 through 20, and have said things like, man, I just wish I had done that in the first place.
I think it prepared me in the way that it gave me a good preview, sort of say, of 1414. A lot of the things that I will see in 1414 was kind of solidified in 0320 first, before transition to 1414, and it definitely prepares you in that way.
I'm a person that struggles with math. I guess it just depends on the person that you are and how well you retain math. But I needed that class because we just jumped right in, and I would have been lost.
I'm actually a returning college student. The first time I went through, I took quite a few math classes. So going back in, when I did decide to start up school again, I figured I've already taken these classes, I can do it. I was originally going to start at UTSA and took the calculus pre-test exam, and it kicked my butt. I did not have any confidence at all anymore in my math skills. So when I did ultimately end up going to NVC, they asked me, would you like to start in 1414 or would you like to start over in 0320? And I ultimately decided to start 0320, which was really helpful, not only for my confidence building back up my math skills, but it's one of the only courses that I took at NVC that required me to be organized as part of the course. There were binder checks. You had to have different tabs and labels, and everything had to be organized. And that's a really big skill to have moving forward in STEM, because a lot of the STEM courses, you got to figure it out yourself, how you're going to be organized, especially if you're taking labs simultaneously with it. It's very helpful with that organization, as well as, if you are struggling at all in math, having a good foundation really, really helps moving forward in other courses. So you don't have to be worried about trying to play the catch-up game. You're not worried about, okay, I don't really remember how to do this, so now I have to look it up before I can even apply it towards the coursework I'm working on at the moment.
I want to make sure that no matter which math course you take this fall, you are aware of the free tutoring that's available to you. So first of all, your instructor will have what's called office hours. All college instructors are required to hold office hours, which means those are the times that you are available to meet with them to ask questions one-on-one. And those are usually posted on the syllabus. Also, we have a math lab that's a cooperative math lab. On campus, it's in Juniper Hall 316, and you'll hear me talk about the room numbers because that's the way we designate the two labs. So there's the math lab that's in 316. There's also another math lab that's in 308, and it's called the Math Advocacy Center. Now, in the remote environment, you can still get to both math labs, but you have to do it through a Zoom link. But they can put you in a breakout room with a tutor who can answer your questions. The differences are the 316 lab is the one where you can go and just work on homework. When you have a question, you ask for help and a tutor will come help you. Whereas the Advocacy Center is a type of lab where you schedule a 30-minute session and they can tutor you one-on-one for 30 minutes 5 times in a semester. So please take advantage of those helps because they're really important. Before we end this video, I just want to leave you with a few closing remarks. First, we believe that anyone is capable of success in Math 1414 if they're properly prepared. So before you take this class, we want to make absolutely sure that you have the algebra foundation that you need before you begin at a college level math course. If you have any doubt in your mind about whether or not to take Math 1414 or go back a step to Math 0320, we really recommend 0320 because worst case scenario, if you take it but you really didn't need it, it only puts you back 1 semester and you'll be that much more prepared for Math 1414 when you start. And if you're not sure and you still need a little bit more advice, that's what we can talk to you about during the Zoom orientation session that you attend. Like I said, the faculty member has all your scores. They can give you good advice about what to take. And please listen to them carefully because we want to make sure that you sign up and are successful right away. Okay, that's it for this video. If you have any questions at all, please reach out to me by email. My email address is posted on your Canvas homepage. We will see you during the Zoom orientation meeting. Good luck next semester.